When I was a little kid growing up, I was obsessed with superheroes. I was obsessed with Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the X-Men, the Avengers, the Justice League, the Hulk, Wonder Woman, the Flash, you name it, I was obsessed with it. The whole 9 yards. Anything that was in the superhero genre, I would always try to look into it. I would always try to read it, whether it's a comic book. I would always try to watch it if it was a TV show. So that was just who I was as a little kid. I was just obsessed with the world/genre of superheroes, and my love for superheroes did not discriminate obscure superhero franchises. And one of these obscure superhero franchises is Captain Underpants. And man, as a little kid, I had almost every single book of Captain Underpants, whether it was the Attack of the Talking Toilets, or the perilous plot of Professor Poopy Pants, or the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. I had all of these books, and I was reading all of these books religiously, in my honest opinion. But obviously, as I was growing up, as I was reaching my preteen, my teen years, I obviously stopped reading these books because these books were directed towards children, and obviously I was a teenager at the time. But now that I'm a full-grown adult, I am going to be completely honest with you guys. I have not picked up any single book from the Captain Underpants series ever since I stopped reading them when I was like 11 or 10 at the time. So now that I'm a full-grown adult, I am shocked to see that the universe is actually continuing, and there are a lot of spin-offs and branches to this universe that I never even knew. And one of these spin-offs is a new franchise called the Dogman franchise. And I never really knew that until I saw the trailer for this movie a couple of months back. And I saw that, I was like, this looks familiar. So I had to type in, why does Dogman look so familiar? And come to find out, I was shocked to see that Dogman is in the same universe as the Captain Underpants. But now that Dogman was released like a couple days ago at the time of me recording, I checked it out. And what I have to say about this movie is that, look, I know this movie is geared towards kids, right? So I'm gonna be a little bit relaxed as I talk about this movie, but this movie is pretty good. I'll be honest with you, I was shocked when I saw myself being really invested in this movie by the time it reached the 30-minute mark. I was shocked at myself because I was like, look, I'm a full-grown adult and I'm just watching this movie to give a review on it, but I'm thinking to myself, dang, this movie is kind of a hit. This movie is, I won't say it's peak, but this movie is entertaining, so I can see why a lot of families and a lot of fans really like this movie. And I can also see why that this movie is actually doing really good currently as of right now at the box office. So what happened in this movie at first is pretty dark because the main character, Dogman, he's not Dogman at first. He is actually Officer Knight, and his companion is Greg the dog. And Officer Knight and Greg the dog, they are part of the police force, and their chief that they report to is Clarence Chief Bailey. So Clarence Chief Bailey is telling Officer Knight that, look, you need to catch Petey the cat. Petey the cat, he is terrorizing the entire city. So as Officer Knight is trying to catch Petey the cat, Petey leaves a bomb for Dogman, aka Officer Knight. And the origin of Officer Knight is pretty dark because Officer Knight is trying to defuse the bomb, but Greg the dog is trying to guide Mr. Knight into defusing the bomb, but it's too late. The bomb explodes and they nearly died. But the fact that I'm saying that is pretty dark is because the way that Dogman is created is because Greg the dog's head survived the explosion, but not the dog's body. But Officer Knight's body survived the explosion, but not the head. So the nurses and the doctors at the hospital thought it would be a bright idea to merge both Officer Knight and the dog and making Dogman. So now Officer Knight's body is good and Greg the dog's body is good. They fuse and they merge. So that's how Dogman is created, and Dogman is proven to be the best police officer in this city. He is solving so many crimes. He is doing so much good, but Petey the Cat is still proven to be a villain. Petey the Cat is proven to be a big hater of Dogman. And Petey the Cat, his character, I was shocked to see that the character of Petey the Cat had layers, and Petey the Cat's character actually had an arc that was completed because at the start of the movie, Petey really hates Dogman. He is a top 10 level hater right under Clarence Chief Bailey, because even though Clarence and Dogman are colleagues, Clarence, he is so jealous as to why Dogman is getting the recognition and the praise and the love from the mayor and the citizens of, I forgot what the city is called, but Clarence, he wants that same recognition. He wants that same love. But eventually we will start to see that Clarence will have his own arc as well. Back to Petey the Cat, he is a top 10 level hater because anytime he gets put in jail, he finds a new way to escape jail, and he always finds and tries to kill Dogman every chance he gets. But Dogman, proven to be the formidable foe to Petey's character, Dogman always manages to bring Petey back into jail, but this causes Petey to get out of jail again. So this endless cycle of Petey going in jail, coming out of jail, doing crime, trying to kill Dogman, but Dogman now eventually beats him and captures him and brings him back to jail. Was pretty entertaining to watch, and I'm starting to see that Petey is a top 10 level hater. So the final time that he escapes jail, he comes up with a plan like, look, how can I beat Dogman? He always gets the better of me. He always beats me and puts me into jail. I wish I could have someone as smart, someone as strong, someone as evil as me. But then he now comes up with a plan. I should clone myself. So Petey, he now buys this cloning machine from online, and he has that machine shipped to him. But during this, Petey's minion, if I could call her that, quits on Petey. So Petey has to work by himself to work on this cloning machine. And this cloning machine actually works, but the thing is, the full clone will only be whole in 18 years. So basically the current clone is a little baby, is a little kitten, and that little kitten is Lil Petey, and Lil Petey just wants love from Petey, man. Lil Petey throughout the movie just wanted affection from Petey, but Petey, like I said, his arc is actually surprising because we see his character actually go through a lot of things, and one of the things that Petey goes through is being a dad, and Petey at first does not want anything to do with Lil Petey. Petey wants Lil Petey to get out of his life because he sees Lil Petey as a failure. He sees Lil Petey as a failed plan of trying to capture and kill Dogman. So Petey does not want anything to do with Lil Petey at first. But back to Dogman. Dogman, we see that he just got fired from the task force of trying to capture Petey because Petey kept on escaping too many times. So the mayor thought that Dogman was useless, and this is where we start to see Clarence. He's starting to open up to Dogman and starting to sympathize with Dogman's troubles and problems of trying to capture Petey, because even though Clarence wants to capture Petey for himself and gain the recognition, he's seen that, dang, Dogman getting fired is actually hurting Dogman. So Clarence, he will later become Dogman's ally. But we're starting to see throughout the movie, a lot of things is happening throughout the movie, but we're seeing that Lil Petey, he will soon get abandoned by Petey. And Petey, one time, he's trying to sell off Lil Petey to random buyers, and random buyers do not want to accept Lil Petey for free. They want to pay to get Lil Petey, but Petey, he just not having it. So eventually when Lil Petey wants to pee and he now actually goes out of the carton that Petey has, Petey just runs away. Petey is a deadbeat. At first in this movie, Petey, he is literally the worst father because he leaves Lil Petey to fend for himself. But as Dogman, he's coincidentally trying to find Petey and capture him because his job, his career is completely on the line. He now spots Lil Petey. Then he now sees that Lil Petey is all alone. So he now decides to take Lil Petey in and to actually take care of Lil Petey, to be the stepdad that Lil Petey actually needs. And we see that the friendship and the relationship of Lil Petey and Dogman is actually strengthening, and it's actually wholesome to see that Lil Petey is finally being taken care of. Lil Petey is finally seeing someone as his surrogate dad. But throughout the movie, we're starting to see that Petey actually has some little characteristics that he didn't know that he had, because another one of his plans, so he wants to get this dead fish, that this dead fish named Flippy was the enemy of Dogman before the fish's death. So his plan is that he wants to put this fish into a generator that can basically bring him back to life, but it kind of gets botched. But eventually it doesn't really get botched. That part kind of didn't make sense to me. But the reason why it didn't get botched is because one of the engineers that worked inside that factory of reviving dead people, both engineers, they messed up and it caused Flippy to be revived. But Petey, he programmed something in Flippy's corpse. He programmed that Flippy should kill every single person that is good in this city, and this will come back to bite Petey in the ass later at the end of the movie. But when Flippy is resurrected, Flippy is now starting to go on his plan. He's starting to enact on his plan. But during this, Lil Petey gets reunited with Petey, because Petey eventually, he sees Lil Petey, that he now brings back Lil Petey to his place, to his house. But as they are reunited, we're still seeing that Petey is still a deadbeat. Petey is still trying to treat Lil Petey horribly. He's trying to put Lil Petey's room in a closet where he's alone. But Lil Petey, he's thinking to himself, if my dad doesn't like me, I know he has daddy issues. So he goes to one of Petey's robots and he now asks the robot, look, can you bring Petey's dad? Can you bring my grandpa so we can finally make Petey be happy, so that Petey can basically love me? So the robot brings back the grandpa, but the grandpa, he is basically the reason why Petey is so evil, because the grandpa, he is a dick. He is a jackass. He does not like Petey. He hates Petey. He treats Lil Petey better than Petey. He thinks that Petey is a disgrace. So we're starting to see that Petey is starting to be more affectionate towards Lil Petey. He's starting to realize, look, maybe I've been trying the wrong things. This little characteristic that is blossoming in Petey is that he's actually pretty good. He always thought that he was just pure evil, but since the introduction of Lil Petey in his life, Petey is starting to realize that, look, maybe I actually like this kid. Maybe this is actually my son and not a clone. But after all this is going on, we see that Dogman is still trying to find Lil Petey. They're trying to put out missing flyers, missing posters for Lil Petey. But Flippy, he now enacts his real plan. Flippy, he is trying to kill everyone that is good, and he now basically controls buildings. You know, this is a kid movie, so I don't know why I'm over analyzing it, but I guess I have to. But these buildings are basically tall and they can't really speak English, but they are just monsters. So the movie ends when Flippy finds the real good person, and that is Lil Petey. And Flippy, he kidnaps Lil Petey. So we see that Petey, he is actually doing a character 180 now. He is caring for Lil Petey's whereabouts. He is caring for his son's whereabouts and his son's safety. So he reluctantly has to work with his biggest op, Dogman. And Dogman and Petey now have to work together with Clarence, the chief, to stop Flippy once and for all. And the way that they do that is because Petey, he's a smart engineer. So Dogman and Petey go into one of Petey's giant robots. So they start to fight Flippy's buildings, and that fight was entertaining. I ain't gonna lie, I was shocked that they actually pulled that off. But the fight ends with Petey, he almost died. He almost sacrificed himself to Flippy because he masqueraded as Lil Petey, and Flippy's plan was to put Lil Petey, aka it's actually Petey, in a volcano to kill Petey. But we see that Lil Petey, he is realizing that, yes, my dad is loving me, so now I must protect my dad. So Lil Petey Dogman and Clarence, they all saved the day by getting Flippy to basically confess why he's so evil. So Flippy, as he's confessing his heart out, as he's pouring his heart out as to why he's evil, because nobody liked him growing up, the fishes that were with him in the ocean hated him. So Flippy, he is no longer evil, so he now eventually helps to save Petey. And when the movie's ending, Flippy, he's arrested, and we see that Petey is pardoned by the mayor for being a good person in this time of need. He saved the city. But the movie ends with Petey coming to terms with loving his son, Lil Petey. Remember, at first, Petey was a deadbeat hater dad that wanted to kill Dogman. He hated his son. He was a repeat offender. He was a repeat criminal. But now we see that Petey, he's trying to be good. He's trying to be a good dad. He's trying to be a good friend of Dogman. And I am shocked as to feeling this way that I'm feeling about this movie. When I walked out of the movie, I was like, damn, I actually fell for these characters. And I was like, this movie did something right, that it can actually make you feel for their characters. Even though this is a kid's movie, it's geared towards kids. You know what I mean? That's the end of the video, man. You know, I just wanted to put the video out there because I saw this movie and it reminded me of Captain Underpants, and I was surprised that it was in the same universe as Captain Underpants. So I am humbly unshocked and unsurprised that this movie has good quality. But that's the end of the video. I'm out. Peace.